Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Members Only Live. If you are new to this channel and watching after the fact, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to join in on these members only live streams. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, or if it's premiering after the fact. And there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Giuseppe Montesano, Trying to Triangle, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wassel, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Losing Your Religion, JMelds24, Unimento, M926, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones. Just check everyone's chatting away nicely. Which one should I open the mic on first? I'm going to go with G+.
It's nothing.
And we need a medium of nothing
A negative claim is also a wave.
for it to wave through.
Now, remember he said light was a wave? I'm not talking about that numpty yesterday. I'm sorry. Remember he said that light was the ether in the end? Wait a second. Light's the ether. Then we wouldn't need an ether for light to propagate through. Remember, John caught him, right? And then he went on to say, "No, well, there's more than visible light. There's a non-visible spectrum." Yeah, it doesn't have any fucking thing to do with your claim. What are you stating? That visible light is the medium for X-rays? You morons.
Now, ether is the light in the other dimension. You see, it's the other side of the light.
The non-manifest light.
And not manifest counter
Now we're
space.
getting somewhere.
Don't forget counter space.
Will we ever get the full spectrum of this argument?
No. And like I said, it's not the ether claim, it's the means. It's how he went about it. So that's what I focused on, the double speak and the outright lies. I just had to boil it down because I think he's Jedi mind tricked a lot of people. Not only his etherites, but just some flat earthers like over in this vicinity. So I just had to consolidate it for him because they don't have enough Adderall to overcome it. Yeah.
Is ether rights like human rights?
Could be.
Nah, ether rights are a bit ethereal.
Totally, dude.
Well, didn't we at the beginning of this just say show us some proof, and they couldn't?
You're missing it. It's the lies.
No, I remember Jaron going against Bob going against Whitsitt. They all saying different things, and the fourth guy said, "Well, one day the scientific method will prove it, but right now it doesn't." Well, then what are you making the claim for?
Oh, no, he didn't say that. It was much worse than that. They do have scientifically... I'd have to go back and get that. Where do I have that at?
Are you talking about there's not a method now that's scientifically valid to prove the ether, but there will be one in the future?
He said that to me.
We're hoping for that.
He said that's
That was on
Mike.
Globe.
He said that to me on Globebusters. So when I visited Globebusters, that's what he said to me.
But that was the Dutch guy, I forgot his name.
Mumbling.
Tobias or something? Zachary?
No.
No? What was that? I don't know.
Mike Kavanagh. Oh,
That's who it was.
There it is.
nice bloke, Mike.
Yeah, but he's a train wreck.
Yeah,
He
actually,
knew it as he was saying
I'll
it.
echo that.
Yeah.
Mike is a very good guy. Like his heart's in the right place, believe it or not. You might want to pull apart his claiming that one day they'll have a science to prove ether, but it doesn't alter who he is. He's a genuinely good guy.
Yeah, but that wasn't the comment that he made. It was much worse than that.
I know.
But my statement
Yeah,
wasn't
worse than
about
that.
these.
Yeah.
My statement wasn't about his character. Of course, he's a good guy. But the point is, Bob said he had it, and Mike says he hadn't got it. And they're on the same.
Unfortunately, Mike was pulled into a bit of a car crash, wasn't he? And if you listen to what he
Yes,
said,
unfortunately.
yeah, he didn't really back Bob up, but he just made himself sound a little bit daft as he tried to play the politician in that situation, if you ask me.
Let's see if I can find it.
Like,
But
he
that's what
didn't say they
happens,
have
right?
it, but we could have it. And I don't disagree with that. He could have the hope of trying to get something that he could formulate as science with what he's. There's nothing wrong with having that hope, yeah? But in that is the admission that there is no scientific evidence for what they were talking about. And that's kind of what I heard.
Yeah, but Adam,
You're giving him a
hang on.
bunch of words. Hold on a minute. You're giving him a bunch of words that he didn't say. He said that one day there'll be a method
Yeah.
that's scientifically valid to prove.
No, it was much worse than that. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you're not getting it right.
But it's worse than that, Adam. Bob said he had it. Mike said one day we might get it, or much worse than that, is Ikui saying it. But
Right.
Jaron said even if you get it, it won't prove anything.
Yeah, they're a mess over there.
What a mess!
I will concede that there is the possibility that it is worse than that.
Can you guys hear this?
Yeah,
experiments prove that the ether is actually there.
Right? That's how you know you're being scammed. So back when Nathan Oakley kept saying things like science proves this, science proves, I took him and said, Nathan, you know science doesn't prove anything, right?
Is that it also confirms the existence of what science has known for hundreds of years, and that is the existence of the ether.
You unlock this door with the key of
Retardation.
beyond it is another dimension.
Science doesn't prove anything, right?
We had lights go different directions, and one of the
Couldn't care
lights
less. This is a
was
parlor
bit
trick.
longer than
Stop.
the other light.
Stop. You don't give a crap about this parlor trick.
Okay, well, that's why relativity was created.
Right, are you
to try
telling
to
me you're
explain
going
away the
around
results.
peddling this crap to this community based on a fucking parlor trick?
No, it's based on antecedent relationship. Like, it's
Right,
just a
what was the
logical
phenomena
framework.
studied in this highly scientific parlor trick? What was the phenomena studied?
The difference in travel of light. The difference in travel of light. The difference in travel of light.
10 days later.
No, you're presupposing that light's traveling from point A to point B.
I'm not.
The difference in travel of light.
No, you're presupposing that light's traveling from point A to point B.
I'm not.
What the hell did you just say?
The difference in travel of light.
No, you're presupposing that light's traveling from point A to point B.
I'm not.
Oh, son of a definitely the mark.
Michelson Morley, for example. The difference in travel of light.
No, you're presupposing that light's traveling from point A to point B.
I'm not.
Are you high right now?
Michelson Morley, for example. The difference in travel of light.
And now, in the atomistic interpretation, it's physically traveling from point A to point B.
Sorry, guy. I'm trying to find this, but it's like a fucking needle in a haystack. Just be patient.
Yeah, but that's good stuff.
Propagate within.
Okay.
Just when I think
Speed?
of light is-
So it's got a journey?
There is no
Sorry, you...
is science.
I took him and said, Nathan, you know science.
Son of a bitch, it's not in that one. Oh my God.
You need to make a numpty track archive so you can find your way through all of it better.
I'll find
Well,
it.
you could just have a great time and just playing it till you find it.
Hold on.
Distance of the ether.
Things like science proves this, science proves. I took him and said, Nathan, you know science doesn't prove anything, right?
Is that it also confirms the existence of what science has known for hundreds of years, and that is the existence of the ether.
you unlock this door with the key of
Retardation.
beyond it is another dimension. You're moving into a land of
Bullshittery.
you've just crossed over into.
The numpty zone.
I took him and said, Nathan, you know science doesn't prove anything, right?
What science has known.
You know science doesn't prove anything, right? Right? That's how you know you're being scammed.
Experiments prove that the ether.
You know science doesn't prove anything, right?
You are so dumb. Damn.
I'm asking you why you're peddling this stupid shit.
My point is pretty simple.
Parlor trick. You're going around peddling. Right, what was the phenomena studied in this highly scientific?
The difference in
That's gonna leave a mark.
Michelson Morley, for example. Difference in travel of light.
Yeah. Double speaking numpty depth.
Does the electromagnetic wave propagate within?
And sorry, guys, it's fucking pissing me off. Oh man.
It's one of those times when I guess it benefits them to say a lot of stupid stuff. Then it's hard to catalog it all.
Oh, I got loads.
Yeah, the best way to catalog is to actually get like little text files alongside them that basically have a small transcription of what they say, so you can quickly figure that out without having to play it all.
Or you could get one of those text to speech or speech to text things and make transcripts. That way, all you have to do is keyword searches.
Lovely, thanks.
Just on behalf of QE, can you all just shut up? He's trying to concentrate and find something.
It's not alive. All of it, regardless, has spectrums, right? Term or whatever of the luminiferous. I mean, there's no. So
yeah, I'm not. It's I'm gonna get really pissed off here in one fucking second.
Can you guys talk amongst yourselves while John's cursing his own categorization system?
Well, that was pouring salt on the wound.
It does seem to be their defense system. If you spout enough nonsense, then people can't keep up with the nonsense to really hold you to account for anything. Seems to be the technique.
Nathan, that was sly of you.
What's that?
Well, Kiwi always said to you, how come you don't label your videos?
I label. Do you realize how many files I actually have? They're all labeled. I just can't find that one. Now, I don't have Mike Kavanaugh's name in here because it's under something else.
No, I know you label things. I'm saying Nathan just the way he did it.
I mean, trying to catalog the amount of stupid stuff that's been said on opposing sides through the years, I don't think it's possible. Someone can figure out a system for that. I'd like to see it, but I don't know if it's possible. There's just so much raw data. I don't know.
Try this one.
That is the only reason that I even advocate this. You know,
I guess the
first could be the pressure as well, right?
But the thing that bothers me, I have served this community for 6 years trying to get to the bottom of flat Earth, and I just think it's bullshit to be attacked on this level. I mean, to the point literally now where there's guys over on the flat Earth debate team that are literally passing around rumors because they disagree with me that I think child rape victims deserve it.
Oh, brother.
What the hell was that all about?
That was about that whole thing. Remember with my chat?
Your chat? He said flat Earth debate. That's me. That's
exactly.
No, I am flat Earth debate, Nathan. You better get used to it.
What happened was Arwin was doing his show as normal, and Bob came in and said to him something along the lines, we've got the screenshots in the past, but you're a worthless piece of shit. I don't know why you don't just kill yourself. What's the purpose of your life?
Start again. Who is saying who to what?
So this, Arwin's just doing his show as normal. And then I just saw that come in on the chat, just Arwin being attacked by Bob, like in that as the way I just described. So as far as I remember, Arwin then rebuts and then will mention Bob's theological viewpoint of reincarnation and souls, and that means that if you come back to be murdered or abused or anything, you made that free will choice in the
Okay,
previous
so
life.
just before you give me the context of the actual discussion, what you're saying is Bob came in and attacked Arwin. Arwin defended himself, and true to form, Bob used Arwin's defense against him, like it was purely that was taking place. Yeah, fairly standard stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wondering when you're going to get a toe tag, honestly. Because, here's the thing that really bugs the shit out of me. What I brought up about the gravimeter, yeah, granted, Jaron made some good points about it, and I will even concede that, okay, so maybe that was a bad example. But there are other people that will use instrumentation that has something to do with detecting photons in a certain quantum experiment, right? And it's like, what the hell? Oh.
No, I think for me the thing is, and this is just the way that I am, and I don't know how other people are, but when a topic comes up that I feel one way or the other about, I just voice it, and that's better, I think, than being quiet through it. If we're talking, and I liked its opinions, but you shoot these photons and they go through this screen.
Right.
And
but you know what they say, Jaron, is they sit there and say, well, it doesn't occur in nature. Gravimeters don't occur in nature. Well, neither do the detectors use.
Holy shit, they're fucking retards.
You ain't kidding.
That's some stupid shit.
Why are we doing this again?
I thought it was kind of interesting when he was saying that, oh, yeah, you're going to get a toe tag for that. Oh, guess who got a toe tag?
Specifically, why are we turfing over old stuff from
scientific method?
Why are we turfing
He's
over
looking for another. He's looking for something
everybody
else.
Shut the fuck up.
Why are we doing this? Why are we unearthing this old stuff from some dead guy?
No, we weren't leaving after finding Bob.
Holy shit.
It was Mike Kavanaugh's thing that I thought QE was going to find.
I'm trying to find Mike Kavanaugh's thing.
Where I kind of defended him.
Okay, so in order to find it, we've got to dig through quite a substantial amount of shit first. Wonderful.
Not we, me. Yeah.
Stuff like that coming up is not good for anyone. Is it?
Again, Adam, sorry.
And stuff like that's not good for anyone. Bob's dead for a start. He can't rebut it. Whatever happened, it's just probably not the best to go over stuff if you've not pre-reviewed it. Otherwise, odd things like that will crop up because odd things like that happened. But I've got no desire to go over those events.
So Adam Newton is dead too. And so are a lot of guys.
I'm not on about that. I don't know Newton's family's still about. Yeah, I don't see there's any benefit discussing incidents the other party can't reply.
You understand? Yeah, I know. I'm just going over these to find that little part. I'll tell you what. I'll just go ahead and leave because it's going to drive me nuts all day on where this thing is, and then I'll come back. How about that?
What thing are you looking for, QE?
The comment that Mike Kavanaugh made about the scientific method. It's ether. He said something to the effect that ether is scientifically validated, but then there is no scientific evidence. Something on that line.
May I just offer a small tip?
I think. Go on, Nathan. Sorry.
Like maybe if you just organise your videos a little better, put some little
tell you
notes
what.
next to them.
Yeah, I think he said something like, is it the quote where he said, it will be validated in the future?
Oh, God. All right. I'm going to go get it and then come back. Okay? Because I don't want you guys to listen to this. So how about that?
I don't mind. Seems like people are cheap.
Take Adam's advice. Go and get it and bring it back. And
thank you.
Do whatever you want. I'm not your boss.
I told you you had a sly one on that one.
No,
I think y'all need to answer why the nothing isn't something, but something can't be nothing. Therefore, there has to be something. Y'all need to be answering that.
It's an asinine question.
I have nothing to say about it.
So that means
That's funny. You
something to
always
say
seem to
about
have something to say.
So you have something to say about it.
Someone's causing feedback.
Well, Billy Preston said, "Nothing from nothing means nothing."
That's right.
Is that D Rose?
Yes, sir.
But you got to have something.
So how did the rest of that conversation with Ding Dong go yesterday?
Oh yeah. Oh no. He just went on, like saying, "I know I'm dumb, but what are you?" Because I said he was trying to say that's why you guys are not gaining. You guys ain't gaining nobody. He
All
said
right,
y'all
stop
not
a second.
gaining
I keep having
anybody.
to do this. Sorry, D-Rose. You have to contextualize who you're talking about. So who is this conversation about? Why was the conversation taking place?
Okay, my bad. So quantum was basically breaking down, the absence of the ether and everything, and pretty much showed a great video. Well, had a sound bite of the video of the double talk contradicting himself of Witsit and everything. And this guy in the background who was in the panel had nothing to say all the way through. His claim was because he was at work and he happened to just coincidentally start opening up in his mouth once QE signed off and was absent. Then went on about, trying to be intellectually, sophisticated, breaking down the high probability of why ether exists and everything. So, Neil wasn't having it. He was pretty much, get the fuck out of here. Da, 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 da. So it got a little bit agitated and everything. Then he was talking about, well, I just want to know how you can get nothing from something. If something is nothing, then nothing is something. Just a whole bunch of back and forth gibberish. So then, it just got to the point where it was then bad ad hominems, where I was like, then he started talking about we're not attracting anyone. You're not gaining any listeners. That's why y'all are, nobody knows about y'all. And I was like, what? I was like, so hold on. So why are you washing out jock
All
straps?
right, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
I
So I was
agree.
like,
I hate that guy.
why are you washing out jock straps? You're here hand washing out jock straps. Why are you here? If it was that's the case. I said, and it's a funny thing how you show up now, after this presentation. That's what Neil was saying. After this big presentation, you still uttering about ether. So
It makes me think that they have like a spy or something on the inside, telling them when to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, brother. Guys,
that was the whole
I
thing.
found it.
Finally.
It was the next thing I clicked on and I found it. So wait till after this first comment and then it's coming right after it. Here it go.
You can demonstrate, you can prove it. When you manipulate heat, water boils.
Science can't prove things. Science cannot prove anything. How would it ever do that? Think about it. If no matter what you try and prove, and these guys, I heard them say the other day, oh, science proof is that the water boils at 100 degrees. That's not proof of anything.
You can demonstrate, you can prove it. When you manipulate heat, water boils.
Science proof is that the water boils at 100 degrees. That's not proof of anything.
You can demonstrate, you can prove it. When you manipulate heat, water boils.
Science can't prove things.
Here it comes.
Now listen carefully.
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist. Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
What the hell did you just say?
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
There you
There
go.
you go.
I'm validated, I think.
No, he's not saying the ether doesn't exist. He's saying the method that he says. I think you can find a method that will validate this. He's saying the method doesn't exist yet. Not ether doesn't exist. He's contextually saying the method that we could validate this with science doesn't exist yet.
That's how I took it.
Science is a method.
You're missing it. You can find a valid scientific method to validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It's a contradiction.
No,
Good God.
he says yet. It doesn't exist yet. It's not been formulated yet. Is all he's is saying. He's not giving up the ether there. Yeah, he's special pleading for the ether, and in a retort to Bob, so he's not giving it up, and he believes it can be done. But in an admission, he has to admit that there is no scientific evidence or methodology to even measure or detect the ether. That's what I heard.
Yeah, but how can you find something that doesn't exist yet? That's paradoxical.
That's not my point. My point is somebody put in a fucking car crash and was being polite, not necessarily stupid. It sounded like I say, pleading in a place he probably didn't want to be. Didn't want to upset Bob any further, but he couldn't, with his own integrity, pretend that there was evidence. So that's.
It sounded like he denied the scientific method to me. That's just me.
No, he's not denied it. He's said there's a chance in the future that science could be able to deal with this thing, but realistically at the moment, nothing exists. That's what I heard. I don't hear a vilification of him. I hear a man in an uncomfortable position, but he doesn't actually say that the ether is true, or you can validate it.
Holy shit! Let's listen to it again, because you guys you got the Adderall drips out. Holy fucking shit!
Just not fucking.
I know what he said. What he said is this stuff can't be proven. That's what he said. That's it.
Hold on.
Now listen carefully.
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method.
I think you can find a scientifically valid method. I think you can find. You get it so far?
Methods that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
But it doesn't exist. Hello?
Yeah. What doesn't exist?
The scientifically valid method doesn't exist yet.
The scientifically valid method doesn't exist yet.
No, I think he's saying ether.
He's referring to the experiment. It's quite obvious.
I agree, Adam. He's saying the method hasn't been established to validate it yet. That's what he's saying.
No, he's saying it. OMG.
No. Listen again.
Holy fucking shit. Okay, I'm going to play it again. Okay?
I think you can find a scientific.
I think you can find a scientific method. I think you can find it. It's out there.
Valid methods that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
So I think you can find a valid scientific method, but it doesn't exist. Get it?
That means the ether don't exist. That's what he said.
No,
it wasn't, Neil.
Oh my God.
You're doing it now.
Then I'm missing it.
Totally.
You're right, QE. It's just a straight up contradiction.
But that's not what he meant. And if you listen,
yeah, but you can't find something that doesn't exist, though.
But that's what I said the first time, and you said no. So I listened again. It sounded like you said the ether didn't exist. Then you said no again.
He's not saying any of that. If I was to reword it, he's saying, right, within the scientific method, we don't have a valid experiment yet that we could test the ether with. But I do believe that in the future we will be able to test it via the scientific method, but with an experiment that we don't
that's
have
not what he
yet.
said.
Oi, trigger monkeys. And we get to the end.
Holy shit, man.
I've got no acts in this, but I can listen to the words of a man and kind of interpret what he's meaning and not twist it to being absolute double speaking nonsense. I can listen to it and interpret a bit in terms of what he's meaning, and I'm happy to do so. I don't think he's saying we don't have a new scientific method yet. I think in his English, he makes the point to me of what he's claiming.
He says, Adam, I think you can find a valid scientific method or a scientific method to validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think I understand the point he's making, not necessarily just the literal broken English he's using.
He just sucks at English.
He's nowhere near as competent as Arwen. Listen to it. I don't think you can take that and ignore the underlying meaning of what I heard. I think you could, but you're then picking on his English. I think
I could find a tree that sprouts broccoli, but it doesn't exist, Adam.
Yeah.
So you're saying that doesn't
Yet.
exist? Wow, you got me all confused.
Well, we're basically now divining somebody's broken English, and then kind of in like Adam, you're thinking about, oh, this is probably the most logical thing that he would have thought, but you can't know.
It's the only thing that makes sense, Arwen. It's the only thing that makes sense because
if
you take the literal words that if you take the literal words, it is nonsensical. So just apply a little bit of logic, yeah, to what he's actually implying there, yeah, with his bad English, then and replace method with an experiment, and it does make sense. It doesn't make it any more valid, but it does mean the sentence construction makes sense. Or you just attribute to him that he actually genuinely believes you can have different types of scientific method. That's the alternative. Based on
What does he say?
Or he's just a dumbass and he's terrible at English. I mean,
I don't think
we got that.
little logic is a little bit too far stretched, if you ask me, when it comes to Globers out there that we deal with.
Okay, we got that. It's bad English. Huey, what did you say he's saying?
It's not bad English. He spoke clearly. It's not broken. You're just fucking adding shit that's not there. Listen to the words. God. Play it again.
His accent. He's terrible.
Who gives a shit?
Right, always.
It doesn't matter. I know how that works. He's probably Dutch.
my
He sounds like
God.
he's Dutch. I know what a Dutchman that can't talk English for shit sounds like.
Oh, God. Play the video.
Yeah.
I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
It is. I understood him perfectly.
He said
right.
method and methods. but it
Okay,
don't
no,
exist.
it's all right. It's all right. So let's take the whole thing. Bob said that science did prove it. This guy just said one day it might, future tense. So that's opposite of Bob. Hang on. Jaron says science can't prove anything, and Witzer says science does prove things. The whole thing, they all contradict each other.
No, you're not.
That guy. Go on, Kiwi. Go on.
You're not getting it. The guy didn't say that he's going to find it in the future. Holy shit. Are you on shrooms? You want to play it again?
Actually, I haven't made breakfast yet.
It's the Mandela effect. It's trying to correct his idiocy
again,
into something more logical. Because they can't handle how freaking stupid people are out there. That's what's happening.
Now listen carefully.
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method.
So I think you can find, right? I think you can find this, a valid scientific method. I think you can find it. It's out there. But
Method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
I think you can find something that doesn't exist. Do you get it now? Or do I got to put it in braille and shove it up your asses?
Well, why are you so tense? Yeah, he said all that, and he's saying they haven't found that method yet.
No, what he's saying is
There's
this
no yet.
bullshit.
Let me have a go.
What he's saying is this bullshit can't be validated.
Not what he's saying.
and
Right,
proven.
that was my point.
Stop a second.
That's-
No. What I hear him saying is there isn't a scientific method that's been done yet, but I think you could go out and find a way of doing it. That's what he's trying to say through broken English. He's saying there doesn't yet exist the methodology to validate this, but you could go out and find it. But it doesn't exist yet. We haven't done it
But that's
yet.
not true.
I'm unbelievable.
That's what that's what I'm hearing.
The observed phenomenon, the cause of the effect, that doesn't exist. Who's
The experiment to dictate, to be able to do that methodology, the experiment, the apparatus, I think is the only plausible explanation for it to me.
You're trying to divine a numpty.
I'm not trying to divine a numpty because he's not a numpty.
He is that freaking stupid. He is that people that are that stupid just exist, guys. Give it up. Stop.
Nobody's
Mandela
trying to
affecting
divine
these
him always.
retarded people. I'm serious. Stop trying to think that they are meaning something more logical. No, they don't. It was that, and it was that stupid. That's just what it is. People are that stupid.
What was it then? What was he saying?
The
Tell me what he was
context.
saying, Howard.
Hang on.
I need to say it? Why? Why do I need to repeat it for like the 6th time what he was saying?
The way I'm hearing it is the context of when Nathan went to Bob's Glowbusters and said, be careful what you claim as scientific method and an experiment, because this is how we got tricked in the first place. And Nathan tried, and ever since then, and we know what happened, they've been fighting this well-established scientific method. So now if you have the whole history of this thing, they come up with ether. So here comes the ether. And we said many times to Whitsitt and others, can you prove it to us through the scientific method? What's the phenomenon? What's the IVDV? You know, what is it? And well, you know, it's no, we can't. Okay, so now we get this clip. And this clip, we've got a smorgasbord of thoughts. Bob is saying science has proven it. Whitsitt is saying science does work because heat causes water to boil. Jaron says science doesn't prove anything. Then this guy comes and says, yeah, the ether, but there's no method in place yet in the way I'm hearing it. The way I'm hearing it, okay, I could be wrong. Quit jumping all over me.
Let me do it again so we don't get a long, protracted Whitsitt and Jaron.
Oh, forget
He
it.
said that he can find a watermelon tree, but it doesn't exist. You get it now.
I got that. I'm going beyond that. Why can't you have a little grace and see other people's opinions count too?
Opinions about what somebody isn't saying.
Oh boy.
It's just what he said.
I got it. I got it. I got what you're saying is what he said, but I also listened to what Adam's saying, and I concur with that too.
Wow.
Hold on a minute.
I really
Hold on a minute.
appreciate everybody's interpretation of what somebody isn't saying. Isn't that just brilliant? I mean, we can definitely fill in the smarter route of what we think this guy is saying when he's literally not saying that. And we have no reason to believe that he's any smarter than what he's actually saying right there.
Yep.
Seriously.
I want to know what he's saying. What is
I'm
he
gonna have to
saying?
agree
Don't
with
exist.
Arwen. Arwen's right. Like, why would you assume that it means something else than what he just said?
Yep. You're getting there. You guys are almost there.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I gave it to you. The context of the whole argument. I'm answering refracted curvature. The whole argument in context. That's why I'm looking at it that way.
I'm lost because I don't know what the freak he's saying. There's no ether, there's no scientific method. I'm gone.
Right. They're saying all those stupid things.
Got a bit of a contrasting.
So can I acknowledge that there is a method, then deny there's a method that exists?
Exactly.
Right. We got it.
I was about to come in and ask if this was what you guys did when you left to your own devices. And as soon as I was about to open my mic to say it, Tom said in the chat, this is exactly why I'm a member. Let's go. Really?
I agree. That's it. Kept me glued to the show when I was just listening.
I don't think there's any reason to look past what the words are. They are what they are. He said what he said. And it made no sense because he was trying to apologize for something, for not being able to prove something. Simple as.
I think
He was just gibbering.
I think I could find a watermelon tree, but it doesn't exist.
You got a compliment from a super chat. JMails24 says, I love the warm and fuzzy quantum eraser. He's my favorite. Smiley face.
Now, what I think probably happened as one Dutch man analyzing another Dutch man is it seems like he was trying to construct two separate sentences in his head, and then they kind of didn't really complete. So he basically stitched two different sentences together into one that made no sense. I think that's kind of what happened. But He didn't seem to realize that he had made that mistake. I couldn't hear that in his voice at the end. There's no yet coming.
There's a phrase for that. There's a phrase. There's a term. It's called an inadvertent brain fart. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
This is
scientifically methods.
This is what happens on the show all the time.
I think if you can use the phrase scientific method, and then if you're scrambling for a word that you would want to mean what you actually do in the experiment, actually, when you write it up, it's called the method. Yes? When you write it up in a paper, that's what you entitle this bit, the method. So I think it's perfectly excusable for him to have used that in its correct sense, and then it might make a bit more sense to what he's actually trying to say in his bad English. But he's not used an incorrect word. The method of the experiment, I think, is what he's relating to.
Yes, that's
bad
what
English.
That's what I took it to mean.
Perfectly.
I took it to mean that we could formulate a method to validate this. It's out there, but it hasn't been done yet. It doesn't exist. Yeah, that's what he's saying. It hasn't been done yet.
No, he put it in context with science. So,
gosh,
again.
This is what happens.
Right. So
Hold on, let John finish. Hold on.
hours.
Hold on. Let refracted curvature make his point. Go ahead, John.
He put it in context when he said there is a valid scientific method that exists. And then he denied that the scientific method exists in the same breath.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
yes.
no.
All right. Now we're back on majoring on the majors.
Oh,
so
shit, Adam.
Yes, correct. Refracted curvature, John. Yes, exactly. So we're talking about somebody who wants to simultaneously hold up the magic trick that is science to validate the ether. And even if you haven't got it, it's got to be out there and validating ether, but doesn't understand what science is and the value it has in the empirical methodology that it utilizes. So while he's saying science, he actually means, although he doesn't know it, there's got to be some pseudoscience quasi-experiment out there to prove the ether somewhere. It just hasn't been done yet.
We're a bit pedantic here, and everyone is right the way they're looking at it. That's the problem we have on the show, but it gets vetted out after long-winded discussions like this.
No.
So
not everybody is right, you bloody hippie.
All right, I won't finish.
Some people are wrong.
I was wrong across the board.
Holy fucking shit.
Some people.
You're trying to say something here, right? Like yesterday, the guy came in asking me the question and everyone took over. What's going on?
So I want to apologize. I get frustrated when routine things don't go routinely.
Nobody cares.
It's just a personal. Yeah, they will care if they're on the other end. So I apologize for that because I think that this is like brain dead dumb. Routine, just listening to what somebody said, and that's it. So I apologize for getting frustrated.
I too would like to apologize. Sometimes I put dirty forks and knives in with the clean ones just so I don't have to bother emptying them. I just wanted to get that off my chest.
I'd like to apologise for not bowing to peer pressure. I'm a stubborn bugger, and if I hear something,
that's right. You stand up.
I'm not prepared to change my opinion unless there's evidence to do so. So, are we all absolved now?
I, on the other hand, will cook for super chats.
I'm still all confused.
Nothing's changed, Neil. Nothing's changed, Neil. Don't worry about it.
Adam can't be bought. I definitely can. We've cleared that up.
I would like to point out that Adam is not interpreting; he's making apologetics. That's not interpretation.
Yeah, I did the word.
So in that case, as I listen to a man I've spoke to for a while, that's what I hear.
I hear that too. I would agree. I know Mike. I've met him personally. Let me just qualify this. Both Adam and I have interacted with Mike for many hours personally. Right, Adam? We've been in his presence talking to him and know him reasonably well. Yeah, we're not his brother, so we're not going to know him that well. But we
in Schiphol.
Again?
Yeah. He picked me up from Schiphol Airport, took me to the conference. Yeah. I got to know him very well.
Right.
Yeah. And
But based on that,
understanding that conversation is born out of actually knowing and having met the man and conversed with him.
also, just one more thing. That conversation that we keep repeating is him directly addressing me. I just might add that. He's talking to me, answering a question I asked him about the scientific validity. So, not that that means I can read his mind, but I'm saying that when he's addressing me, he's addressing somebody that he's met, he knows, and he assumes I'm going to give him that, what's the word? Not leverage. There's a word for it. Can't think of the bloody word.
Flexibility.
You're just going to give him that leverage to say, yeah, I understand when you're going to make word mistakes, and I know you well enough to know what you mean when you're contextualizing this way. And what I took it to mean was that there hasn't been a cause and effect hypothesis put together yet, but there's one out there. It just hasn't been done yet. I know it's completely rewording everything he said.
No,
you mean lenience?
Nope. Matt, you are Kavanaugh simps, both of you.
I'll tell you, I'll simp a bit more. I'll simp a bit more, and this is important, right? Because Mike was when you first brought this, and then Nathan really pushed it. So did Tony, and this was part of the reason that Tony got kicked out of FE Core. Yeah, but he did get the concession, and he took it to FE Core for us to stop using their lake thing as an experiment and call it an observation, and explained and got the acceptance that the term experiment would be used with regards to the scientific method. He did concede that, and the whole FE Core did, thanks to Tony and Nathan.
Just Tony. I was never a member of FE Core.
No, but in terms of pushing the point, no, you didn't get kicked out. Tony did.
I mean, I might have been. I might have been granted membership without me realising. So if somebody says, look, you were on the books or something. Well, not as far as I'm aware. Let's put it that way. Because there were several people that were like, oh, I'm a member of FE Core and I wasn't even aware of that. But not that I'm aware of.
You didn't have to pay to become a member.
Can I ask a question?
What's Tony's favorite color? That we didn't go over that.
Red. Red.
I didn't mean this conversation. That's outrageous.
Can I ask a question?
Well,
Mike Kavanagh, this guy, Mike Kavanagh, he is and has been well aware that the scientific method exists for many years, yes?
I'm going to go with yes, to an extent.
Yeah. Well, no, he is aware of it. He's fully aware of it. Yet he said there isn't a method that exists. Yes.
Yeah, I think he means hypothesis.
To prove a load of complete and utter horsemen you are. In other words, there is no way to prove this through actual scientific method. In the future, we'll have to make up something to try and prove it.
That's not what he said. No, he said there is a method out there.
That's what he said.
That's not what he said. So he said there is a method out there to do it, but it hasn't been done yet.
But it doesn't exist.
But it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making. Yeah, but he's
and the point
that doesn't mean.
Hello, Brian, in the middle of a sentence. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, but he's fully aware the scientific method does exist.
No, it's not right. Again, we're down to the use of the word method. Surely we've exposed, but by that he means the technique of the experiment. We've not got a methodology of an experiment defined yet, right? But because I believe in the ether, still, I have hope that we will have a scientifically valid experiment that will be able to do it. Yeah, it's still not a great statement, but I think that's the point he's making, and not like.
And when he says, "But it doesn't exist,"
scientific method.
When he says, "But it doesn't exist," he's answering my question, which is, "Where's the scientific evidence to prove the ether?" And he's saying there is a science out there for it. There's a method to be developed, but it doesn't exist. In other words, to answer my question, if I ask for the scientific experiment that does prove it, well, he's saying, well, there is going to, there definitely is a way of doing this with science, but it doesn't exist. I can't give you one. That's how he's answering my question.
Right.
If you listen to the whole thing in context.
Right. So he threw, hang on. So exactly. So he threw Bob and Whitsitt under the bus, who said scientific method does prove things.
Yes. That's why I used it in the clips that QE keeps playing. Right. Those are my clips. Not that I've necessarily put my hand up to that.
Point. That's my point before I have to go, is that if you take the whole conversation, where this whole thing started was when you went to that show, and that's where I heard you debate him. That's why I'm on this show. I saw inconsistency on their part, and I saw you standing up for something. And that whole thing has never, that burdened them so much, it had to have, to where by the time it was finalized, which who knows when, but at the point of these recordings, they disagree with each other on it.
Can I just add something onto this because it involves Bob? Right, after the fact, I'm not even, how can I phrase this without giving away who's giving me this information? Somebody close to Bob gave me a bit of information that actually made me have quite a lot of empathy for the guy. In the same way that you were saying the guy earlier, is we're living rent-free in his head. Unfortunately, Bob, who, from what I found out, actually watched the show regularly, right, did take this to his grave, which is unfortunate. He was, while we were japing about it, actually living with that pain, quite literally. And I'm not going to suggest in any way that that contributed to his death. I don't even know what killed him. But my point is that that went with him right till the bitter end. And I say bitter end because it wasn't a pleasant experience for him. Now, when I hear that from the reverse side of it, I think that's unfortunate, but I don't take any guilt away from that. In respect to, we're here to discuss and debate the nature of reality, and if you're going to make claims about things that aren't real, expect it to be painful when that's shown to be the case. But I don't feel responsible for any heartache that may cause. That's ultimately self-inflicted when you've made those decisions to disseminate information that doesn't have scientific validity and claim you've got science for it. Now, in this instance, just to round out, Mike Kavanagh's actually white knighting for Bob. I got Bob in a corner over this exact subject, and then Mike jumped in. So he's not exactly, he's putting his back against the wall for Bob. So there's a lot more to the context of what you're hearing than just this little soundbite.
Right. That's why I consider the whole story in full. And I've heard Jaron attack members, including myself, in a language and not so nice way. I've never attacked Jaron. I've attacked the arguments. They attacked the man, it seems like. And that's on them, not me. I forgive them. But the whole point is, we are here, just like this show is proving. We're trying to get to what did the guy actually mean? And Adam and me are kind of saying, well, I think it's this. And then QE and Refracted and others are saying, yeah, but he said this. Okay, yeah. And then I said, well, what's the whole thing anyway? The whole thing is we have a scientific method, but then we don't have a scientific method. And then we got ether that can't be proven yet. And then these guys on that side of the argument are contradicting themselves, where we're still on the same foundation. Oh, what's your DV? What's your hypothesis? What's your IV? What you manipulate? We haven't changed. That's the beauty, and that's the truth that comes out when something is held to a standard rather than an opinion.
Okay, let's just get that out cleared up as well, because you've just addressed Jaron into this equation as well, which is fair enough, I suppose. But in the same respect that Mike was essentially white knighting for Bob in this scenario that we're discussing, likewise, Jaron, who is, or was, past tense, unfortunately, very loyal to Bob, was effectively doing the same when he defended Bob's honour. Well, I don't feel like that's reasonable to be hypocritical of necessarily Jaron when he's defending somebody who's been very good to him, as I would with QE in the same respect. You know, he's a mentor to Jaron. So while people will defend these situations like Jaron and Mike have done in this scenario, I really don't think it's fair to drag them back in when, not Mike, but certainly Jaron has got in touch with me after the fact and put his position to me in a way that makes me feel a lot more empathetic. Now, bearing in mind that, again, it's hard to phrase this without speaking ill of the dead, since Bob's death, we haven't really had any of those sorts of issues where we're having the well poisoned against us in the way that we used to. That seems to have stopped. And further to that, you know, Jaron has actually extended olive branches where he hasn't said this is an olive branch. His actions speak louder than words that suggest that it's an olive branch, if you know what I mean. Again, I can't help being vague, but You know, I've got a higher level of respect for Jaron since Bob's death by his actions alone. Now, I haven't had any issues since Bob's death. Nobody's come to me. I used to get messages all the time, and typically I read between the lines that it was Jaron defending Bob's honour, and now that he's dead, it doesn't seem that he needs to do that, and isn't. He's not calling us scammers. He's not doing anything bad. In fact, he's just ignoring us, as far as I'm aware. There's no bad blood. But the bad blood, again, without speaking too ill of the dead, was coming from Bob. Now that that's gone, there's no beef anymore, as far as I can tell, with Jaron, or even with Mike. So us sort of uncovering all this old, crappy old turf, I mean, maybe it's got some point to it. Maybe this is what you guys do when I'm done in the after show, but I don't know. I don't want to stir up shit with Jaron, or even Mike for that matter. You know, we will still continue to address their proactive points if put to us with regards to Ether, but we're dragging this up, and I don't really know why.
It's not. We're not dragging anything up. That we were talking about the statement that was said. Huey had trouble finding it. He found it. Now it's evolved to this. And I don't see the way you see it with Jaron. He has a lot of people to apologize to for the things he wrote down in text. I mean, some really obscene, vulgar things. And whether he's done it to you in private, well, I'm glad he has, but he hasn't done it to me. And I've never hated the guy. I still like the guy, and I forgive him.
There wasn't any reason, right? It was just something random that somebody brought up Mike Kavanaugh in a statement, and I remembered hearing it. Didn't know what he said exactly. All I knew is he contradicted himself within the same breath. That's all. And then I wanted to go find it to show exactly what he said. That's it.
Why doesn't one of you new love editors go on over and start telling them about scientific method and see how far it gets?
Yeah, I did in that show.
Yeah, but why don't you go on back over now and see, because it's all better now. Everything's okay. Not as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
They're still spewing out rubbish. Sorry.
I'm not so asked about them, what they're doing. All I would say, it spawned out of nothing, but it spawned out of the fact that we hold each other to account. And if we disagree with each other, we disagree. We don't just stay quiet, even on a stupid little thing like that, which is what the underlying intent was. We'll argue it through. We still might not agree, but I think it's the standard we set of ourselves, and it's a consequence that even on something that trivial, we'll go to that detail of pursuing. So,
Adam, don't bring me to your level. I wasn't trying to figure out underlying intent. I was going on the meaning of words. You were making apologetics. Quit that.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy in this case because I do think the person was being misrepresented. Yeah. So I'm happy to do that. Yeah, you can hold it to that argument, and I would concede I can't really change the words if that's all we look at.
I'm not holding.
You guys win there. Yeah, it is a stupid sentence, nonsensical, contradictory. But what I would say, the meaning of the word, the sentence he got is a bit like Riley's ice creams, right? Riley's trying to sell ice creams, but he ain't got any. So somebody asks him, "Can I have 5 ice creams?" And instead of just saying no, he says, "Well, I haven't got them yet, but in the future, I hope that I'll have them." Yeah,
you're still messing.
But that's what I heard. That's the context of what I heard. It was a polite way of saying no. There is no scientific evidence, Bob.
Nope.
But in the future, I might. Yeah.
No.
But ultimately, he was denied any scientific evidence. That's what I heard.
Well, that's not what he said.
Right.
There is a watermelon tree, but it doesn't exist.
Look,
Right.
No one's going to get around what QE's saying because there is no way around what he actually said was a straight up contradiction in English. There's no way around that. Nobody's going to ever get around QE. That's why he's knowing through everybody who tries to say otherwise, me included. And I get it. He's right. You can't get around the fact that what he said was a straight up contradiction. It exists. It's out there, but it doesn't exist. That's just a straight up contradiction, isn't it?
Hold on. But see, that's the thing. And that's where me and QE are willing to stop. You all are willing to make apologetics for what you think he meant. That is for opinion.
It puts him in the worst.
I wasn't doing that. You can't add me in there.
But whether you make,
I didn't add you in, Brian.
whether you make apologetics like you say, or you hold him to his words like he said, what's the outcome? What happens? What happens when Adam and I? Oh, yeah, exactly. So Adam and I say, well, we think he meant this, even though he said that, and we get what you're saying there. So quit repeating it. We get it, but we think his full intent was this. And you say, no, he said this. You're making apologetics. Okay, what's the outcome if it is apologetics? He's still wrong. It still doesn't exist to prove anything.
No, it just shows that you're Matt Kavanaugh simps. It's okay.
No, I am empathetic
You're letting your
towards
personal
people.
feelings. You're letting
I don't even know the guy. I don't even know the guy. I just have empathy.
Don't let him have you. You know it.
No, I'm not. I have empathy. I have empathy towards people because I've misspoke before. I've said things quickly. And then I said, no, that's not what I meant. Yeah, but you said that. I go, I know I said that, but my goodness, when I talk to my guy friends, I just say the 3 words and they get the whole context. When I talk to women, I got to spend 2 hours.
Right. So personal feelings.
So are you guys women? Are you guys
I was going to say what you're trying to say, and then you made it.
I got
say we're
that. I
girls.
got that.
Bunch of women.
Yeah, what's up,
I got a
Sam?
question.
That's sufficient. It means so much.
I got a question.
Go on then.
How much for order of ribs?
Yeah, have you only just started watching I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker? I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. It's like 30 years old.
Can I have a sip? 15 cents.
What about if I just
can I
cut
have-
my hands? Can you just pour it into my hands?
Fuck the cup. Can you pour it in my hand for a dime?
Can you give a shit?
That's what he says. Fuck the cup. Can you pour it in my hand for a dime? Yeah, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Is that Chris Rock? Who is the guy who plays that? It's Chris Rock, right?
Yes, it is.
I gotta go.
And the Wayans brothers.
That's his first. Holy shit.
There's no such thing. I gotta go. You guys are getting too carried away, but we'll catch you tomorrow.
Good. Yeah, that's his first
question.
starring role, by the way.
I thought the funnier part was that girl that started shedding her body parts.
It's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, this is funnier.
No, the funnier part was when the guy came swinging through the window on a rope and knocked himself out.
No, the funniest bit in I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Brilliant.
Hold on. The funniest bit in that
whole
entire
movie was
film
great.
is the scene with Cherry. You remember who Cherry is?
Oh man.
The girl that took off all of her parts.
I don't read it. Right. So
I just said that, and QE said no.
Right, Cherry is the girl that you meet at the bar that's got everything. She's got a beautiful bum. She's got a beautiful figure. She looks fantastic. And she's talking about what she wants from a guy. And she's the full, she wants the 3 6s. She wants everything from the guy. Now, this army guy is pretty much got the full deal as far as he's concerned. So he takes her back to the apartment. And she says, look, I've got a little confession, right? I know I said I'd got, all of these perfect things. And she starts popping out of contact lenses and saying, look, these eyes aren't really green, right? And then she pops them out. And then she says, and this beautiful ass. She pops out a fake ass. And then she takes off her fake leg. And so it continues. And she got...
Let's have the beer belly.
Right, she's a one-legged... person by the end of it. It's just a very, very funny scene.
I must be a. I said the funnier part is when the girl starts getting her body parts.
Hello.
What?
I got a serious question.
How much for order of ribs?
Go on, D-Rose. You're getting real
In our
pissed.
lifetime, will there ever be an experiment that'll be able to find the evil? If it is, will it be on cable television?
Yeah, probably next Tuesday.
Stop. Oh, I know how to do it.
Remember the bit with his toe, where his toe gets stamped on?
Oh, that was a good one, yeah.
The whole movie's great.
The guy with the goldfish shoes, the pimp. Do you remember the pimp?
What about the pimp? Yeah, there you go, Nathan. The pimp comes out of jail. with the fishbowl shoes.
Goes and gets all his stuff, and he comes out looking all dapper with his like fake leopard skin long coat, and he's got these platform shoes. And as he starts strolling down the street, everyone starts looking at him going, wow, who's that guy? Look at his shoes. They've got fish in them. So he's literally got goldfish in his platform shoes. He's just strolling around. And then they all smash. He's like limping around with all glass bits at the bottom of his shoes and his fish flapping in the wind.
Remember the midget twins that were bullying Damon Wayne?
There's something wrong with that. I'm working with this young black kid now, and he said that movie's not right. He doesn't find it funny. What's going on in the world today?
The premise
How
of
is
the
that not
movie.
funny?
The premise of the movie is that the black community is getting addicted to gold chains. That's the whole premise of the movie.
Yeah, he said it's not right. It shouldn't have been portrayed that way.
So they show deaths.
That was
So obviously,
funny, man.
instead of drugs, it's gold chains, and they show like these dead bodies of black guys, and they're like completely covered head to foot in gold chains. Like this, they can't breathe. They've got so many on them.
Do you remember the name of the good guy, the main good guy? John Slade. Here's the name. It's ridiculous.
Keenan Wayne and the Wayne brothers had a way of using satire to expose the absurdity of the culture, the most absurd part of the culture, which people embrace. They did that with what was the don't drink juice while you're in the hood?
Not
Something
seen that
like
one.
that was another one they did. That was another one they did. Don't drink juice in the hood while you're whatever. They just have a way of exposing the absurdity of the culture.
Well, if you think about it, they got Jim Carrey started. He started on Living Color.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And don't you know he was turned down from SNL before that?
Fire Marshal Bill.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, and he was turned down by SNL before he went for Living Color. SNL messed up. Saturday Night Live, for those who don't know what SNL is.
Hey, could we spend about 10 minutes talking about how if we can perceive someone to be friendly, how we can change what the words they use meant to make it make sense?
Get lost. That's not what happened.
I love where John's mind's at, man. Good one, Matt. Go ahead, Adam.
I think we should always just proceed literal words, never ever put anything into context, and only ever hold people to that standard.
Just remember the word. I just remember the word. It's attitude. I was prepared to give him a little bit of attitude.
Yeah,
that's latitude, not attitude.
Not latitude. It's not latitude.
Yeah, like if you give them a little bit of latitude, it's a swerve to the left or right. Attitude would be the demeanor in which they say it.
Yeah, you give people attitude all the time.
Maybe I'm just.
I do, but I give everyone latitude.
This is the weird thing, isn't it, about today? Mr. Latitude holding me to account.
It's
You're
funny
normally the
though,
most reasonable.
It's usually reversed, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're still wrong, all of you. Just leave him alone, you bullies.
John's not
You
letting
didn't mean
off the
it.
hook. Words have meaning.
So do people.
I just like being on the other side of it for a change. It's so much easier to push than it is to block.
I'm going to say what I said earlier, but in a different way.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's just going to make, because where I said it earlier was a bit
Will those
too,
different words have the same meaning?
the way I say it now, will make a bit more. It's not that it didn't make sense, but it will hit a bit harder. The problem in the first place was that they weren't accepting scientific method. So, do you think they would be accepting it now? I would have to say no. I'd have to go with no. So the problem still exists. Now, there's nothing we can do about that, but that problem, the original problem, is still there when we look past all the fluff. It hasn't changed that I'm aware of.
That's a straw man. because you've now said Mike doesn't understand the scientific method when we gave testimony that he did and he actually agreed to it. His knowledge and understanding of it is why he used double speakage apologetics to basically say, no, there is none, in the way he said it.
But that isn't what I said, Adam.
I know,
but
because it's not the end.
I didn't mention anyone
by
name.
The end.
Hang on. I said, are they now accepting scientific method? The answer would have to be no.
Who are they? Do they include?
Globus. Whoever is involved or connected to them.
Well, now it doesn't matter, does it?
Well, it does, because that's the point. That was the original problem.
Oh, no, because
pseudoscience.
That wasn't that's relating to Globebusters, not Mike Kavanagh, then, yeah?
Yeah, but he's connected to them.
Not physically.
Not physically.
Yeah, come on.
I love it. Adam is better at this than I am. Adam is a lot better at this. I can't believe he ever takes the other side.
I'm lost. I'm lost as to why Bob's long-standing theology and this chip in this environment from Mike means he's held to all of their theology when he's explicitly explained to me, Tony, took a stance in fact goes to recognise what the scientific method meant. That's not to excuse the way he spoke or anything, but it's to at least try and understand it, that what I heard was him trying to help his mate out by admitting that his mate didn't have any scientific proof in a admittedly nonsensical way. And if you just take the words of English from that poor Dutchman, it's got not as good at English as Darwin, but he tried to get a point across that I could comprehend. So I don't know why he should be held to all their stuff. What we've been discussing is one individual, not a main channel and a group of people of which he was not included's main theology that they pumped. It seems.
Well, what I find really funny is I said they, and you keep on focusing on the name Mike Kavanagh that I didn't say.
Who we're talking about?
You've got some serious simping going on here.
Well, that's who we're talking about, Mike Kavanagh. So you can't call, they're not his pronouns. They. He's a Mike. Yeah, he's an individual. He doesn't use those pronouns, so you can't use they in relation to Mike.
I said they. I didn't mention Mike Kavanagh by name at all. I didn't mention.
That's what we're talking about. What he said, not they. They didn't say it. He said it.
Okay.
Well, you can tell it's weighing on Adam's mind because Brian's point had nothing to do with what Mike said. So,
well, then what was the point in bringing it up then? Because we're talking about what Mike said, not what
the
they
original
said.
problem. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in on that.
This is fun.
The point was that the original problem still exists over there. They weren't accepting scientific method. They're still not accepting it.
That wasn't the original problem.
That wasn't the original problem.
Nobody started with that original problem. We just had a problem with the intention of Mike Kavanagh's
There's
work.
audio of Nathan over there with them not accepting scientific
you
method.
come here stirring shit up against Globebusters. We weren't saying that.
Well, I'm saying it.
Exactly. So that wasn't the original problem then.
It was the original problem. Nathan went over there and it wasn't accepted. And now it's still not accepted because they're still pushing stuff that's pseudoscience.
That's the original sin, not the original problem we were talking about now.
Well, you say that
you should let Mike off the hook on this one, Adam. You should let Mike off the hook because he's not part of this now.
I agree. He's definitely not part of it. I think we should definitely simp for Mike in this regard. He's off the hook. Thanks, John.
It's not about the it's about the means.
For Adam, Mike Kavanagh is aware, and this is from you stated, he's aware and agrees with scientific method. So why did he say what he said? Because that was less than a year ago.
We've already pointed this out. He's shit at English.
He's not shit at English when it suits him.
Well, it really suited him there.
I'm loving Adam right now. He's like a ninja of interpretation right now. It's just, I love it.
A ninja simp.
It's not me. It's not me that's twisting a man's intent. That's clearly there.
Oh, so you're trying to define his intents? What's next?
His intent. His intent clearly demonstrated. Yeah, having had experience of the individual, I'd mitigate for you in the same way. If you got something wrapped around your ass when you were put in a tough predicament and kind of tried to bullshit your way out of it, and it basically said the truth. But
Shout out to Tony Wickham. He says, "I have a problem. I am dyslexic, and I thought Uncle Buck was a porno. B and F get mixed up in my eyes." Thank you for the super chat.
I love you, Adam. I do. I love you.
It's not about the ends, it's about the means.
Ooh.
You like that, Curie, don't you? Ah.
Yes, I do.
Solid, that boss.
Let's hear it again.
Yeah, I think
It's
you
not
can
about
find
the-
a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
What the hell did you just say?
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
I think you could find a watermelon tree, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, you could take it like that, or you could take it like you can find a watermelon tree detector, but it doesn't exist. That can be construed both ways. He's admitting that
Get
ether
on in
doesn't
there.
exist, or the scientific method doesn't exist.
Get on in
yet.
there, Adam.
Say it again, D Rose.
No, get on in there. Simp powers activate.
I'm not sure the point that's being made. Maybe D Rose could just clarify what he heard, what he has an issue with. Did it make any sense fundamentally? First of all, did it make any sense?
Well, the sense he made to me was that to just hold up. Not only does
So you're
I'm
interpreting.
just saying you want the
sense
defining
it made
denominator
to
is
me. Now,
something.
answer the first question, D Rose. Did it actually make any sense, that sentence?
Nope.
No. So now, please why don't you tell me your interpretation of what you heard?
Hold on a second, Adam. Are you taking me as your own standpoint now that it
To
doesn't
the
make sense?
woodshed, baby. To the woodshed.
Hold up. Hold on. Let me.
You're taking our
I
standpoint
can't
that it
believe
doesn't
you
make
guys are
sense.
still onto this.
Okay.
I mean, didn't I lay it
Can I
down
have
very
two
clear?
interpretations? Can I have two interpretations?
No
One
need to make any
interpretation is that there
interpretation,
is
D Rose.
the first interpretation that I can't even tell what this guy Mike is trying to say. Is he trying to say that there's a scientific method to prove ether exists, but it doesn't exist? Or is he saying there's a scientific method out there, but it doesn't exist? He made it so vague that you don't know whether he's saying ether doesn't exist or the scientific method to prove that ether exists doesn't exist. Depends on what side you're on. If you're a pro ether, if you're a pro ether, you're thinking he's saying that ether exists, but the scientific method hasn't come up yet. They haven't found it yet. If you're someone that knows the ether is a bunch of conceptual bullshit, then you know that. Thank you, Mike. Ether doesn't exist.
That's pretty good, D. I didn't look at it
I
like
think
that.
it's a perfectly valid way of interpreting what he said. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Like Adam, you're great. You've taken the standpoint that it doesn't make any sense now, and then flip like everything on its head to someone else trying to interpret it. That's just awesome.
I'm going to prove that your attack on me, that I was interpreting what he said, is exactly what you're doing.
No, my point was that it didn't make any sense, which is also your point.
Yes.
But then you want to interpret it further, and that's awesome. I love it. Just keep on. That's good. I like it.
What was his favorite color, Adam?
Well, if you read into what he's saying, I've got a kind of turquoisey green, maybe heading towards the blue, but I'm not quite sure. It's hard to interpret from that.
Well, it's got to be a beach color.
It's only reasonable that we do attempt to interpret it. Now we know it and it makes no sense. I think John's right.
I think.
Well, but that was QE's point to begin with.
Yeah, but you've interpreted it in a way to add criticism. You've already done that yourself. That was the first move by you guys to interpret it, that it means that, not just say this guy put a really bad sentence together that doesn't mean anything, can't mean anything, and it is impossible to interpret what his true intention was.
But that was our point to begin with, is it didn't make any sense.
No, not their point wasn't that's just a misspeak.
Look, let's just try and boil this down.
I didn't say
When you and Quantum Eraser made
it didn't make any sense.
When you and Quantum Eraser made the point, John, it didn't have very much gravitas. However, now we've discussed it and we are reiterating that as our point, it makes perfect sense.
Exactly. I love it. This is great.
That's why I made up that sentence. What QE was saying. There's a watermelon tree detector device out there to prove that watermelon trees exist. To prove watermelon trees exist, but it doesn't exist. But then you can say there's a watermelon tree detector out there to prove it, but it doesn't exist.
No, or there's a watermelon tree out there, but we don't have the scientific method yet to detect it.
Yeah, we don't have the method yet to detect the tree. But one will exist. There's like trees out there that are being detected by machines, and we just haven't got an ether detecting machine yet. Obviously.
What I am glad for, D-Rose, is that you've bothered to interpret what he said so you could create your own analogy based on your interpretation of the nonsense he constructed.
And I have
Yes,
two interpretations.
you offered Adam a handy straw man. You did.
So what was he actually saying?
Now, will we live to see this scientific method that'll detect and prove ether? That's the thing.
Anyway, nobody's actually concluding that ether is merely a replacement for a downward bias in the form of gravity holding you to a spinning water ball. We're just arguing the minor point of a bad grammatical sentence.
Oh, yeah, that stopped being anything about Mike Kavanagh ages ago. It was just about how you could wiggle out of this argument.
Carefully.
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist. Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
What the hell did you just say?
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
See, what that methods, that sentence makes no sense to me. I've got to interpret it. What am I going to do? Does he actually mean methods, or is that bit a misspeak? Are you going to interpret that, or are you going to take it literally and analyze methods?
You're gonna have to ask method man.
No, that's a misspeak. That one small part is a misspeak.
Are you sure?
Not the overall message. So don't pull a composition fallacy
So
on
you're
us.
interpreting it, QE.
Know?
Hold on. I'm pretty sure he meant methods. I know him. I'm giving him that attitude.
Exactly. That only makes sense because he said methods. I'm able to interpret it a bit clearer.
So anyway, we don't need ether because we don't need gravity. We don't need to replace gravity because we don't have a downward bias. So frankly, the validity that may or may not be offered by science, which isn't in existence currently, or may not be existence, or it may be ether that's not in existence, is irrelevant because it's as an overall subject matter irrelevant because we don't need it. We don't have a downward bias, do we?
I don't think the ether. I don't think their point with the ether was connected to gravity.
No. I'm saying I'm connecting it to gravity by saying we don't need it. It's only there because we've got a gravitational force that's got a flat Earth counterpart now in the form of, what is it, incoherent dielectric acceleration?
Yeah, because that's what Wicked says. No need for gravity anymore. He ties them all in, QE.
All right. I was just wondering. I really still don't know. Maybe they could tell us.
Well, when it came on flatoids, that's basically what he said. I don't understand why they're not getting on board. This is destroying ballers. It's showing them that there's no need for gravity because we have this.
You know what? Maybe we can get Fishnet guy back on and have him tell us that our vibrations aren't in line with the Earth.
Oh, when I finally seen that guy, I was cracking up because I remember you saying something about him. That guy was funny.
Why don't we review that? I don't even want to call it a video. Why don't we review that?
Vibration.
That would be a lot of fun.
You know what it reminds me of? Hey, do you want vanilla or chocolate ice cream? Yeah.
You left out
That's my type
strawberry,
of
man.
answer. That's what I would answer.
No, that's QE's. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop roll? Yes or no?
That's an old one, man. That's way back there.
Yep.
Does anybody
many licks
remember
does
how
it-
many it took?
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? True or false?
But does anybody remember how many it did take?
1, a 2, a 2.
Then he bit it, right? Then the owl bites it. 3.
But here's even one better. Is fire hot or cold? True or false? That's really complex.
Okay, this give me
How
a
do you
headache
answer
now.
that?
No offense. Of course.
Now listen carefully.
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist. Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
What the hell did you just say?
Yeah, I think you can find a scientifically valid method that can validate the ether, but it doesn't exist.
Now, what I can do is if you listen to his methods, it's plural. Or is he saying method, a method, scientific method? Or is he saying there are scientific methods to
Okay,
validate
I know he's not speaking
ether
English, but
exists?
it's not.
And then he says, but it does not exist.
It's the
See, now
methods.
it would be singular.
Try and pay attention.
If he had said they do not, now we could break it. Let's break it down like that. Let's even decipher it more like that. More broken English.
Methods.
Yes.
Well, not coming through. Methods.
Did he say methods? He said plural, right?
Methods.
Okay, but then he said
Instead of both.
it doesn't exist. But then he said at the end, but it doesn't exist. Why wouldn't he say, but they do not exist? He said it doesn't exist. So either he's very poor at grammar, or he's actually conceding that ether doesn't exist in a decoding type of encrypted way. Hey, I don't know. But proper
Dude,
English
I
would be
think we
there.
should write a combined letter to the guy over email and all give our signatures in order to actually find out what exactly he meant. This is getting totally ridiculous. Like 2 hours on this, guys? Really?
They're probably still saying 4 more hours.
Gonna get noisier soon. My wife and 2 daughters are gonna get home soon, so.
I think we could find a watermelon tree, but it doesn't exist.
Well, have we substantiated that the antecedent for gas pressure is a container? Have not us conceded,
Hold
but has
on.
it been substantiated?
Watermelon
'Cause I think
trees
that's
don't
what we-
exist.
Are you trying to solidify the solidity?
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to solidify the walls of the container.
But just do me this solid, Neil. Do me this solid. Solidify the solidity of the containment.
I don't have. I
It's
don't
re-
have to. It's sure.
I need the solidification of the rigidity and the density and the solidity of the containment.
Thank you, Al. It should maybe Al. We should have normal business.
I agree.
Speaking of that, Speaking of that, QE, didn't you say you wanted to speak to Nathan about that solidity, that solidification of that solidity? Because he had said to
No.
me when we was, no, we're not going to do that because I think Nathan was telling me let's not get into it, with the
You
opponent
gonna let
about
me answer?
Oh, you're going to answer? Okay, good.
Yeah, when you ask me a question, you should let me answer. It's just.
No, I thought you said no. You're not going to get into it. I'm sorry, I misheard you.
Well, I tried to get the whole thought out, but I couldn't do it. You kept on explaining. So I was gonna. The problem I had with it was that the way you portrayed it, I don't think that's the way Nathan said it. That's the problem I got.
Okay. So Nathan, yesterday when you corrected me when we were talking about with Neil, and I was saying how we know it's containment, and I was talking about the solidity of the containment, and you were saying we don't have to go that far with the opponent. All we know is that the antecedent is a containment for gas pressure. As far as its matter being solid, to solidify its solidity, which is the whole joke. You told me, Nathan, we shouldn't get into that as flat earthers against the opponent because it's
Yes.
not our burden. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. Now we're getting into it with us guys.
Is the firmament the end of nature?
I'd say it's made out of aluminum.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe the end's where natural law ceases.
Yeah. Correct.
Therefore, it doesn't have to be anything because you're trying to divine the way God created nature, not
No.
how nature behaves.
No.
in and of itself.
No. You went one step too far. Beyond that, you can't speak to it.
Yeah, but that might be the point that is beyond.
No, that point's not beyond it. It's the point, not beyond the point. You got Matt Kavanaugh disease.
No, I'm just saying I can't prove nor disprove that, and that's why I raised it yesterday, and that's why I'd agree with Nathan. Don't go there. You are actually ultimately trying to define creation at this point. You can say there must be containment. That's sufficient. You don't have to be held to a phase that it might not even. And my point here is, it might not even be a phase as we understand it, because it's ultimately the end of creation. This point, as far as I
No. It's the end of it, not beyond it. You're mixing up the category.
That's an interesting take, Adam. Yeah.
Does it have? Does the end have to be nature itself? Nature may just stop, and then it doesn't have to be a solid thing. Then nature ends.
Define a container.
I can't call how God created everything, and I certainly can't call what happens after nature finishes. Is my point.
You don't have to. It's incoherent red herring fallacy. Define a container.
Exactly. For me, I'm absolutely fine with that, but I'm not talking about the rules of nature at this point necessarily.
Yes, you are. It's still in nature.
That's I've got to have to get there to make that distinguishment. I can only make the assumption at the moment.
No, you don't. You're conflating beyond with it.
Oh no, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
You'd like me to. I'm saying when it ends, is the ending, something that is commensurate with nature and then it ends, or is the ending in of itself something that creates something that would be commensurate within nature?
It's commensurate with the container.
That is commensurate with the container, but not necessarily fitting our definition of a container, because it's no longer within nature.
Adam,
it's
check this out.
encompassing nature.
I think the thing that me and QE was saying, I think even Neil was saying is, okay, there's two levels. There is the point you're making that our finite mind cannot even answer that question of what it is. However, as far as what we stand for, it is a solid as far as to the extent of the limitation of our
You made the
finite
claim.
understanding. Listen. But what I was saying before was, as far as what that solidity is made of, the density of it, the rigidity of it, what it specifically is. Remember I said the specificities of the solidities? I mean, that's the point where it's a bunch of speculation. But we can come to an agreement,
No, we can't.
not to knock your thing about the Almighty's creation and us not having that understanding. We can come to the understanding with me and QE saying that it has to be a solid.
Why?
And that guy in that
Because that's the only
correct what he said, and just like D Rose is saying, we all. Oh,
Because it's interacting with nature.
yeah. When that guy in that video,
Can you demonstrate that?
Yes, it is. It has to, because gas pressure needs a container.
Could it not be a different type of interaction as it's the end of nature?
Like what?
That
Give me another
commensurate-
special pleading.
that commensurate
He's
with
talking
it.
about divinity.
Give me
He's
another
talking
special
divinity.
pleading
He's
power.
talking divinity.
Yeah,
It's divinity.
but it's not something that I could rule out because
Wait,
it's
what about
it's not within nature. It's within God's creation. So I can't definitively, like I say, I'm happy to hang on that die on that point, because ultimately I can't define that ultimate boundary is commensurate with everything else I have in the same understanding, because it is the end of it.
No, it interacts with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Can you show
like wind or something, right? Like, so what if
Yeah.
I mean, could you contain gases with wind? Like just having a
Does it interact in exactly the same way, or does it not? I don't know. Nobody's been there to demonstrate that. So I can get, but I have to leave a little element of doubt in my mind.
Don't
see what that does
there's
to
a
me,
little
Adam. What
bit
that
of
does,
doubt
that leaves
in your mind with
a
the filet
gateway.
mignon. Listen, there's a little bit of doubt with the filet mignon that it came from a cow, because it's right at the edge.
Depends on where you bought it from. But,
And
yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
difference. I'm not
just
relating it to something just in nature. Am I? I'm making the realization I've gone right to the edge of nature, and I'm asking the question: does everything work exactly the same there within God's boundaries?
Within God's boundaries, yes.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. It could be
But
plasma.
we're not there yet.
But it might be plasma. That buggers you up, though, doesn't it? With your solidity.
Okay, depending on how thick the plasma is, the density of it. Yeah, okay.
So Adam's
But I
claiming
just
an ion.
think when you
No, so I would just say, stick with, as Nathan said, just stick with containment. Don't be specifically held, or an arsehole like me can get really finicky, and your point's missed. Containment
Well,
is
like gravity.
Then
Gravity
don't
can
show a
Well,
container.
yeah, I hope that happens.
And don't show a container in your demonstration like Nathan does.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with solid containment, because that's something
check
I
it, yeah,
can
thank you.
show
That's what I'm gonna stick with. You know why? You know I'm gonna stick with that? Cause check it out, Adam. I agree with
Adam,
you. In
you're
fact, I
going
want to say
into,
something.
D-Rose. Finished.
D-Rose,
wanted
can
to
you
say
let
something.
Brian
I wanted
speak, please?
Okay, good.
I didn't hear a word he said. Good.
Yeah,
Brian.
thank you, Keith. Thank you. I'm going to stick with solid containment because that's what I can show and prove. If it's something else, then it has to be something that we are not aware of in existence, because nothing else that we are aware of can contain and create gas pressure or vacuum or temperature.
Yeah,
It
but
has
I
to
said
be-
that. Hold on,
Hang
Brian.
on.
I said that
It has
earlier,
to be-
and I got shot down.
It has. If we're going to talk about it, we can only make one claim. If we're going to talk about it, if I just say sorry, go on, Kiwi.
There's two issues here. The first issue is, are we going to talk about it? We don't have to go that far with Baltards. That's the first issue. So Nathan's correct in that. But when we're talking amongst ourselves, this is fair game. Is everyone on that sheet of music?
Yeah, but it's dangerous territory, because if we're going into it, could be something else. Then it could be gravity. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's
That was
where
my
that
point.
came from. That's where that kind of nonsense came from. You know, it could be.
Yeah, well, it needs to be a force. It needs to be a
Yeah.
force. Like some. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it needs to be able to contain gas pressure and vacuum.
Are you talking about? Is he talking about a container force?
Just some sort of force equal and opposite to whatever you're. Yeah, equal and opposite to the action of
that's
whatever's going on. That's been
no
debunked. You
force in
said.
the cup. There's just containment.
That's what Dell's saying.
Force the cup doesn't punch the gas molecule back.
Adam, there has to be some sort of force causing gas pressure. It can't just happen on its own.
The kinetic energy of the particle, you Duncan.
Fuck the cup. Well, what is it? What is he? Fuck the cup puncher.
You're opening a Pandora box of a bunch of speculative garbage. Because now you got people talking about it could be a force on the other side that's blowing down, that's resisting against the opposite force of the gas pressure going up.
Must be something either that or solid. Yeah, doesn't have to be that, but it has to be something.
That's a numpty
rising Earth.
How do you have cycles then?
The upward rising Earth causes the gas pressure because it can't just happen on its own. What are we, nuts that things could just move on their own without a force?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can. I did a whole presentation on it about how the sun creates a gas pressure gradient. And the cycle,
right.
Everything. There's also an increase in radiative heat as you go above 10 miles. How is that possible?
No, that's not the point. That's about.
Well, it is.
No, it's not. That's about things that can affect gas behavior. Not there is no gas behavior unless you've got an Earth pushing it up. That's the point of denial. The gases won't behave as gases unless there's an upward pushing force, making them do what they do ordinarily anyway in a static environment, and then subject to the things you're talking about. But they're things that can affect gas behavior, how you can mitigate it, not what is gas behavior, and that it's caused by a force of the Earth coming upwards. That's you're describing a fan effect when that happens. You're not describing gas behavior. In this, you're describing fluid dynamics of volumes of gas when you describe that. And you're not what's being claimed here, giving a cause and effect for gas behavior, because what's being postulated is an upward moving Earth that causes it. Like I say,
Brian, are you saying there's no need for a physical dome or container because we have a sun?
I'm saying the cup doesn't punch the gas particles back.
No, I'm not
with
saying
Brian's
that.
presentation on the sun.
I know. I'm saying that the sun creates it, right, due to changing of temperature, right? The whole system. But
it creates what?
You can't. Hang on.
It doesn't create anything.
Gas pressure gradient.
It adds more energy to what's already the way in which it works. It doesn't create a thing.
I was very specific. I said the gas pressure gradient and low-grade vacuum, right, is created by the sun. Right? The convection cycles, all these things created by the sun. That's my claim. And I'm not claiming that it doesn't. I'm claiming that can only happen, which is temperature, gas pressure, a gradient of gas pressure, right, and the low-grade vacuum. That can only happen within solid containment. And I can show that in reality to anyone.
Yeah, I won't even say that's your claim.
Would have to
I would
show
just
me
say that's what's observed.
Yeah, but someone would have to show me how those things are possible without a solid containment. Because until then, I'm totally fine with solid containment. Why would I claim anything else?
Thank you, Riffraff. Thank you.
A solid container. Okay, yeah. So that guy in that video was correct then in assuming that all flat earthers say there's a solid container. I mean, I don't agree with it, but it seems to be, I don't know, pretty unanimous.
I'm happy with containment.
Right, and then Adam was just good with containment, not physical. Yeah, solid or whatnot.
Can you guys show, other than a solid container, a liquid container, or a gas container, or a plasma container? Can anyone show that?
Nope.
There you go. What else can we fight about?
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I still want to know why what I said was shot down. When oh God, forget it.
Wouldn't that like a bubble? Like, nobody interrupted you, Neil. Go.
You're roboting too, by the way.
Give me my round out cue with that. I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show. Well, no, it's members only live stream, isn't it? This members only live stream possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the members only live stream for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, hopefully sharing, subscribing if you're watching after the fact, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!